Angela Rayner, Labour's flamboyant Deputy Prime Minister and perhaps his most recognisable political operator, and says she has no desire to lead the party. Never, she says. Never. Never. You remember the James Bond film? Never say never again. And yet a curious thing happened recently. A secret memo proposing a slate of tax hikes targeting the wealthy was sent to Rachel Reeves, and then it mysteriously appeared in the Daily Telegraph. And what followed was not just a briefing war, but the re-emergence of a question that has haunted Labour's high command for some time: is Angela Rayner on manoeuvres? And her overreach is probably something that should concern all politicians. Looking across the benches at Kemi Badenoch's overreach, one can't help but think, could Angela Rayner do better? Of course she could. But the contradictions of her denials and what her intervention tells us about Labour's internal dynamics. Rayner's memo to the Chancellor was a comprehensive document. It proposed 8 tax rises, from reinstating the pension's lifetime allowance to increasing dividend taxes and targeting bank profits. It was bold, it was policy rich, it was serious. It was also conspicuously not what Rachel Reeves or Keir Starmer had proposed, and Reeves had staked her political credibility on fiscal conservatism, cutting spending rather than raising taxes. In contrast, Rayner's memo offered a redistributive, interventionist alternative, one foot firmly in the politics of Ed Miliband, the other tentatively reaching back to the Corbyn era. Crucially, this wasn't a speech, this wasn't a leak of private disagreement. This was a formal written policy challenge sent before the spring statement. Nobody drafts such a document without knowing it may one day surface, and nobody writes it unless they want to say there is another way, and then nobody leaks it to the press without the person who drafted it giving approval. Rayner, of course, denies she leaked it. Of course she does. The reality is murkier. Leadership manoeuvres are rarely overt, but Rayner's defenders say she merely widened the debate. So it is hers. Her critics say she poked a hole in the Chancellor's credibility and then hid behind plausible deniability. The timing matters. Labour's poll lead is shrinking, Reform UK is surging, Starmer's U-turn on winter fuel payments and Rayner's vocal pressure about that U-turn gives the sense of an administration not leading from the front but stumbling through focus grouped reactions. So what is Rayner doing? Some insiders say this was not a coup, but ambition doesn't always come with a coup. Sometimes it comes with a call to do things differently, to show voters and colleagues what an alternative Labour might look like. And as one Labour MP put it, this wasn't a leadership challenge, but it was very much a leadership audition. Rayner has said she never wants to be the Labour leader. Well, the word never will be replayed endlessly if or when she finally makes a move. Of course, there is an alternative in Wes Streeting. But in politics, never is the most elastic word in the dictionary. Boris Johnson once said he would not dream of becoming Prime Minister. Margaret Thatcher once said that she was not for turning. Never in my lifetime, she said, about a female Prime Minister. Leadership denials are rituals performed for the cameras but rarely believed by the performers or indeed by the people they're talking to. Rayner's strengths are considerable. She has trade union backing, grassroots support, an ability to speak with authenticity, a quality that increasingly cuts through in a media landscape starved of authenticity. She is, in a field of technocrats, a recognisable human being, a woman who survived real poverty, speaks without a script and connects. Against someone like Nigel Farage, that counts, and she knows it. And this memo was a misstep, not because the policies are wrong, mainly that many of them are popular, but because it appears disloyal at the precise moment the party needs to present unity. Angela Rayner's brand is insurgent, authentic, not administrative and managerial. That makes her a threat. But it also makes her vulnerable to the charge of playing politics rather than governing, and the leaked memo fed every suspicion that Labour is internally divided. It allows opponents like Kemi Badenoch to cry cabinet warfare at Prime Minister's questions, if she has the confidence to do so and if she can finally read that sentence in her script. Reeves and Starmer, for all their rigidity, now look like grown-ups under siege from a sideshow. And if Starmer falls, Rayner may yet face her biggest challenge, proving that she can do more than raise questions. She must show she has the answers too. I'm not so sure she does. So is Angela Rayner overreaching? Yes. But that doesn't mean she's necessarily wrong, and it doesn't mean that she's misjudged the aim, because Starmer is weak. The real mistake here is not that she proposed a different approach, it's that she tried to have it both ways, to be the loyal deputy and the insurgent, the pragmatist and the populist, the underdog and the heir apparent. And in British politics, as in Greek tragedy, hubris is not punished for what it aims at, but for believing that the person who's aiming can reach for the prize while pretending never to have noticed it. Angela Rayner may not be running for the leadership now, but the question is no longer whether she wants it. The question is how long can she keep pretending that she doesn't want it.